interior of the heart chambers as well. So it's really helpful in that aspect. We're going to start with the blue side of the heart. What side of the heart is that? Left or right? Right. Love road. So if you see blue, it's deoxygenating the blood, the right side of the heart. You could also like orient it like as my heart, it's going to be my right side over here. Okay. Now, so this is the right side. Deoxygenated blood means it doesn't have oxygen. So where is it coming from? The body. All right. If it's coming from the body, like for example, we talked about how the blood from the liver goes to the heart. What part of the heart did the blood from the liver enter the heart through? Yeah, what vena cava? Inferior, because the liver is lower than the heart. So down here we have the inferior vena cava. Anything below the heart, any organ below the heart is going to send deoxygenated blood back through the inferior vena cava. And then anything above the heart, like your head, anything up there, is going to send the blood that it's already taken the oxygen from back through the superior vena cava. All right, so ready? So say this with me. Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So that's how blood gets into the heart. Now, when blood's entering the heart, what chamber does it enter? The atria or the ventricle? Atrium. So on our right, we're going to look inside and we'll see our right atrium is right in here. So superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and what's in here? Right atrium. Make sure you're practicing back there and following along. Right here on the exterior surface of the right atrium, we have this ear-like flap. Anyone remember what that's called? Auricle, yeah. Okay, ready, everyone? I see you back there talking. What is this right here? Santana, you with us? What is this right here? Superior vena cava. One more time. Everyone say, what's this? Superior vena cava. There you go. Good. What's this one right down here? Inferior vena cava. What's this ear-like flap? Auricle. Does blood travel through the auricle? No. Nah, it's just an exterior structure. But the blood's going to go from the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava into the right atrium. Now there's one more hole where blood can enter from, and it's this little hole right here. This is called the coronary sinus. Can you say that? Coronary sinus. Coronary sinus. Yes. And the word coronary, what does it mean? Heart. So coronary sinus has blood that's coming from here, from the muscles of the heart back to the heart to get filtered. So but the heart itself needs its own source of oxygen for its own myocardial cells that are actively pumping. So it also needs some oxygen. It's going to send that deoxygenated blood back inside itself to get pumped elsewhere to the lungs. Okay. So the heart itself needs its own, just like the liver, right? We talked about how we had the liver was filtering blood, but it also needed some of its own blood to stay alive. The heart is pumping blood, but it also needs some of the blood to stay alive itself, to keep those cells alive. So coronary sinus is where all the deoxygenated blood from these coronary veins is going to be entering back into the heart chambers. Question?
Yeah, so inside the auricle is the right atrium?
Yes, so basically the auricle is just an exterior structure that looks like an ear-like flap. So it makes it really easy when you're looking at a dissection to find the auricle versus the atrium versus the ventricle. Yeah, so it's just kind of sitting there on the outside. Good question. All right, ready? Real quick, what's this? What's number 2? What is this little hole right here? Coronary sinus. What's this whole chamber right here? Right atrium. If you're not paying attention right now, you are wasting a chance to have 50 minutes of your time in class to learn this instead of at home. So learn it now. Don't do other work. Okay, here we go. From your right atrium, where are we going to head into? What chamber next? Right ventricle. So here it is down here. Now, in order to get into the right ventricle, you have to travel through this guy right here. This, if you can see, has 3 little cusps. It's called the tricuspid valve. Yeah, say that with me. Tricuspid valve. Yeah, so right atrium to the right ventricle, you have to travel through the tricuspid valve. Now, once the blood gets down here, you can see that there's a couple structures inside of here. Now, these little white guys right here are called chordae tendineae. Try that one. chordae tendineae. And what they are attached to, these are kind of broken off, but you can see it here in number 40, is called the papillary muscles. Say that one.
Papillary muscles.
Yes. And now what's happening when the right ventricle pumps blood up into the not to the aorta, to the pulmonary trunk, these have to close off this valve gap right here because we don't want blood going back up into the atrium. So when the right ventricle pumps blood up this way, these get pulled on by the papillary muscles and it closes that valve so no blood can go backwards. So that's the job of these chordae tendineae and these papillary muscles. Make sure the blood doesn't go in reverse. And I'll show you a video of those at work once we're done with this. So real quick, blood from the upper body is going to enter the right side through the superior vena cava. It's going to go into the down through the and into the right ventricle. Good. From there, it's going to go up through this valve. Right up here is the pulmonary trunk. When we name these valves leaving the ventricles, they're nicely named. So this is going to be the pulmonary semilunar valve. Say that one with me. Pulmonary semilunar valve. Yeah, so it's heading to the pulmonary trunk. It's named by where it's heading. Now the pulmonary trunk branches into two directions. It's going to go to the left pulmonary artery and to the right pulmonary artery, which are headed to where? Good guess. If it's deoxygenated, to the lungs. Yeah. So now here's this keyword, artery. Artery, think artery away. Say that with me. Artery away.
Artery away.
And then veins are going to go, veins start with a V, and there's also makes the number 2. They go to the heart. Okay, so veins make the number 2 and go to the heart. Now it's also important to actually add in that word of like to the heart's chambers. You'll see why, but away from the heart's chambers and to the heart's chambers. So these are the pulmonary what if they're going away? Arteries. Yeah, pulmonary arteries headed to the lungs. Now, I'll just go back to this one. No, we'll go through back at the end. So now we leave, we go to the lungs, the blood gets reoxygenated, and it's going to come back in through the pulmonary. What goes to the heart? Yeah, veins, the pulmonary veins. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the left and the right pulmonary veins. Both of them travel back behind and into the the left atrium, which is going to be right up here. So here's our pulmonary veins. They're both, I'm having trouble seeing. Oh yeah, there's one entrance, there's the other. So they come back into the left atrium. Okay, so in the left atrium, we're going to have to travel to the left ventricle next. If you can kind of see right here, this is called the bicuspid or mitral valve. Say that one, bicuspid or mitral valve. Yes, so pulmonary veins, right, left atrium, bicuspid valve, and into the left ventricle. Yes. These little white things are called what? That is. What about these little white guys hanging down? Yeah, ready? Chordae tendineae. And those are going to be pulled on by these little muscles called papillary muscles. When the left ventricle is pumping blood into the aorta through the aortic semilunar valve. You can kind of see it in there, right? So these semilunar valves are both heading up into something else, and they're named after that. So the aortic semilunar valve is going to go up into the aorta, which is sending blood to where? The rest of the body. So these three guys up top are going to send blood towards like the head, upper body parts. If you ever see in movies when like the head's slashed off, all this blood squirts off and upward, yeah, coming out of the aorta, which is like the largest artery in the body, really large, tons of pressure going through here, tons of pressure because of these thick myocardial walls in our left ventricles. Now we also have the descending aorta down the backside, sending blood to the lower half of the body. So we have heading upward, descending aorta, heading downward. Okay? So we're going to go through all of these together. One last time. What was that? Yes, you'll get a picture. Yes. All right, ready? So just everyone stick with me one time, everyone together. Make sure you're awake, you're alert, you're saying these out loud. Even if they're wrong, you're saying something. Okay, here we go. If we have blood coming from the lower body, it's going to enter through the good, and into the right atrium. Good. Down through the good, and into the right ventricle, then up through the good, the pulmonary semilunar valve, and into the pulmonary trunk, which branches into the right and left. What kind of arteries? Pulmonary. What do you think pulmonary means? Lungs. Yeah, so pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries away to the lungs. And then it's going to come back oxygenated through the pulmonary veins. Good, the pulmonary veins. So everyone sit down. Pulmonary veins. From the pulmonary veins, we're going to enter left atrium, then go through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, and up through the aortic semilunar valve into the body. There you go, right? So it just takes some practice. Good. Now, along the way, we see just some like physical structures. Blood's not traveling through here, but we see them. What's this guy right here? Auricle. What are these little white, like long things hanging down? Chordae tendineae. And what's their job?
To stop blood from going back.
Yeah, to stop blood from going back into the atrium. And what's going to pull on them to stop that? Papillary muscles. Papillary muscles. Good. Good. All right, one last thing. So we have, that's like our systemic circulation to the body and back to the heart. We also have coronary circulation. Now this one's really short. Ready? So one thing that's involved is that coronary sinus. But let's take a look here. Here's your aorta. Coming off of the aorta, we have something that's going away from the heart. So is it an artery or a vein? Artery. It's called the coronary artery, and it branches into tons of other little arteries, all going to the myocardium of the heart, that muscular layer. So from the aorta, coronary circulation, to the coronary arteries, they're going to drop off their oxygen at the myocardium, and now the deoxygenated blood's going to go back to the chambers of the heart through the coronary veins, which all wrap around and come together to go back in and enter through our little hole over here, the coronary sinus. So that's it. They're pretty short. So we go from the aorta through the, what's this guy called? Arteries, because it's going away from the chambers of the heart. That's why that chambers helps. And then it's going to drop the oxygen off at the what layer? Myocardium. And the deoxygenated blood's going to go back through the coronary veins and enter through the coronary sinus. And then it's going to go right through the cycle again, where it's going to head into, through the tricuspid valve, to the right ventricle, to the pulmonary trunk, to the pulmonary arteries, to the lungs to get oxygenated. They're just like separate circulation systems. They all, every time blood's being pumped at us to go through the heart, whether it's going to the lungs or to the body or to the heart, but where it's going to, systemic goes to the body and coronary goes to the muscles of the heart. Yeah, so we'll take a look. I'll show you guys the circulation pathways so you can make sure you have them down. But that is a little practice there.